Kevin Perry and Johnny Sig here. I'm gloved up and we're ready to chop it up. Boxing back on fire. Kevin, let's hit it. Let's get to it.
Unbelievable! You want to throw sometime? Bang! Oh, my God! Okay, Chip. 7 rounds to 2.
What's good, Kev?
Oh, nothing much. Just the usual. We think we're gonna start in 5 minutes, and it takes us a half hour.
Technology today, man. I tell you what, there's something going on in the universe with technology that's really, really crazy, and things are just not working. But we're here, we're making it work. And real quick shout out, Gotti Ward, fight number 1, 20-year anniversary today. Can you imagine that? That was 20 years ago.
Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy.
The Mortal Kombat mirror match. What did the man you store say? This might be the fight of the century. Just what a great fight. Before we unpack Canelo versus Bivol, which is a lot to unpack there, and that's pretty much going to be, I think, the theme of the show. I want to shout out to the ladies. Serrano and Taylor put on one hell of a fight recently. A potential candidate of fight of the year. So shout out to Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano for putting on one hell of a performance, and the promoters for making the best fight the best. Kev, did you see that fight?
Yes, I did actually. And what's interesting about that one is I'm one of those people I rarely ever buy pay-per-view. I haven't had DAZN for the longest because I don't think the fights that they've had have warranted the $20 price tag.
Yeah.
But for that fight, I was like, you know what? I have a good feeling that this is going to be an excellent fight. So I ponied up the $20. You came by the pad and we watched that fight, and that was excellent. I thought Serrano pulled out the victory, but Taylor definitely fought. She had the heart of a champion. She was hurt. She was wobbled a couple times in the mid rounds, and I think she swept the judges' scorecards in the last 3 rounds. That's what gave her the victory. I don't know if I necessarily had it that way, but it was one of those bouts where I guess it was somewhat difficult to score because Serrano was doing most of her work in probably like a 2 or 3 round period, and Taylor maybe spread it out a little bit. But the rounds that Serrano won, she won very decisively, and the rounds that Taylor won were probably like toss-up rounds. But for some reason or the other, they gave her the victory. But great fight. I think there's going to be a rematch. So I was very happy. $20 well spent. I'm probably going to dump this zone before the end of this month, so I don't have to pay another $20. There's really no big fights that I see on the horizon that I'm really that interested in as far as the zone goes.
I feel you. You gotta hit it and quit it.
Well, what was your thoughts quickly on the Serrano and Katie Taylor fight?
I thought it was a very close fight. Both ladies fought their asses off. They looked tremendous. They looked apart. They looked world class. They looked pound for pound. You know what? And to be honest, they shamed a lot of the male fighters in boxing, in my opinion, because they fought with a lot of aggressiveness. They took on the best were fighting the best, and they took on each other, and they really went hard. And it was amazing to watch because the fight was so excellent, and they put everything they have into it. And these ladies, I gotta say, that's my fight of the year right now, man. I'm not gonna lie, and it's not because I know Amanda on a personal level or whatever, but I know she gives everything to the sport of boxing, like her heart and soul into the sport of boxing. And Katie Taylor, she went through a lot of adversity, but she made the adjustments, during the fight to, I believe, pull it out. It was close, but the adjustments were made. Speaking of adjustments, oh man, let's talk about Canelo versus Bivol, or
Yeah.
what I should say, Bivol versus Canelo, because he was the champ, and still is the
Speaking
champ.
of, lack of adjustments, I think is what you meant to say.
Yeah, because I mean, Canelo. All right, let's get right to it. I had to fight 7-5, okay, in favor of Bivol. A lot closer than a lot of people think. Like a lot of people shit on Canelo, but I thought he didn't do bad. The guy's bigger. Canelo didn't have a game plan, in my opinion. So, like you said, adjustments. He never made an adjustment. Bivol had a game plan, a beautiful jab, and just for me, going into that fight, Bivol now stands at 20-0, and I felt like this guy's unbeaten. He's big. He's a very good boxer. People have been like, he's been out the ring for a minute. Nah, he's good though. And Canelo, like, he goes through all these weight classes, and he's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And that's true. And the thing is, he's not getting any younger. So I thought he was going to have a lot of problems. I didn't think that Bivol was going to win a decision. So I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn. I thought if he was going to do it, it'd be KO. People would be like, he got a low knockout percentage. But I'm like, if he's going to win, it's got to be by knockout, because the judges aren't going to get it right.
The thing is, John, just for me to add there, about the knockout percentage, he has like a low knockout percentage, but part of that's just like his mentality of like how he fights. He's kind of more safety first. He can punch, but I think if he was a little bit more aggressive, he'd probably have more knockouts. But I think when he sees he's kind of built a lead, he just kind of stays within himself. He doesn't take unnecessary chances to give his opponent, a chance to land a lucky shot. So I think that's kind of a little bit more has to do with why he hasn't scored a knockout in his last few fights. I don't even think it's necessarily been the level of opposition, because his opposition's been pretty B level, C level for the most part, besides Joe Smith and maybe one other fighter you can maybe mix in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's this fight was the case of Canelo has 50 something fights.
Yeah.
And
I think 60.
If you fight enough times, you're gonna lose eventually. So
absolutely.
Especially if you move up in weight, eventually you're gonna find a guy that kind of has your number. In this instance, it was an opponent who came out with a perfect game plan. He stuck to the game plan.
Yep.
And he was a fighter who, he doesn't have a whole lot of fights, so he didn't have a lot of wear and tear on him. And he had a very solid amateur background, and he kind of stuck to the basics for the most part. Didn't really, do anything stupid. But I mean, mostly that's kind of the normal fight that he fights. I mean, I think if you were Canelo going in there, I think you should have expected that. But for the most part, I just saw that Canelo basically there was no sense of urgency. He was only in one gear, and I think that's really what hurt him a lot. And I think after a while, I think the weight did probably affect him quite a bit. So
I agree. And it was like, he was in like one lane, like literally just standing in front of Bivol all night long, like no lateral movement. Now, I was going to ask you, Kev, and it's funny that you mentioned all these great points that you just made. Do you think that Canelo had an off night, or Bivol was just that good, or a combination of both?
Well, okay. Here's something. This is an interesting development. I'll just bring this in. I think this will give you a little giggle. So I'm going to basically kind of ask you the question if you think this had something to do with.
Are we going to clenbuterol?
No, we're not going to go there. Let's see.
I can only imagine what you're going to pull up right now.
1 second. So
yeah.
Just going to share my screen here.
Yeah. I got you, bro.
Okay, here we go. So this is a development on Boxing Scene. So according to a story with Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo was in too much golf. So
What the hell does that have to do with anything? Golf is relaxing.
So I'm gonna read a couple quotes here from Oscar, and this is in regards to how much golf Canelo plays. So he said, "What I saw, I see everything. Canelo has been playing a lot of golf," said De La Hoya. Actually, let me shout out who the writer of the article is, who did the interview. Manuek Akapian. He's
Akapian, yeah.
He's a writer with BoxingScene.com. He said, "What I saw and I see everything. Canelo has been playing a lot of golf," said De La Hoya. "From experience, I used to play a lot of golf in between fights and in between training camps. It takes a lot out of you. Yeah, you're out there for 6 hours. You're standing, your legs are weak, and you're focused. A fighter needs to be focused. Yeah, you're back. Everything. Yeah, you're back everything with your body. Go back to the drawing board. That's it. Golf you can play when you're 90 years old. Go back to the basics." Also, what De La Hoya stated in the article, and I'll just kind of paraphrase it. What De La Hoya was referring to also was that Canelo, he plays golf like during training camp, and apparently he golfs about 6 days a week while he's in training. So does that have anything? Could you attribute that to?
That's a lot of golfing. I didn't realize it was that excessive. Like I said, golfing is relaxing. The way I golf is I have beer and I don't care and I just play, and I do it every once in a while. But it can be a very frustrating sport. You know, you golf, I golf, and we know the frustrations. We don't golf well. We ride dirty, you know, on the golf courses. I have stories I can share with people. The first time we went out, that was the best, man. We were riding dirty. I'm driving on the greens. Everything's bad. We just didn't belong. But we kind of got a little bit more civilized.
Yeah.
But,
So John, so was that a contributing factor? Let's just do a yes or no. Or is that a maybe? I'll let you do a maybe.
I'm gonna say a maybe because of distraction. Like if that's what he's doing now, like De La Hoya actually said something very intelligent there that you read. It's like if you're gonna box, you gotta be, you know, very focused on what the boxing is, and especially in between camps and doing all that Canelo. And again, I don't want to shit on him because I give him props. All the things that he wanted to do in boxing, but you can't just rely on, okay, yeah, I'm great. Yeah, he is great. And he's still a pound for pounder. Yes, he's great. But the thing is that you gotta, in my opinion, if you're going to fight at this level and change weight classes, you know, you could have your distractions when, you know, you're not in camp. You know, you could hang out with your lady, go out, have some drinks, whatever, go gamble, blow off some steam. These guys deserve it. But if you're in camp and your distractions are like, hey, I'd rather golf than go train, that's a problem. You know, everything, you know, should just be done in the sport of boxing when you're in camp, focused to the sport of boxing. Like, look at Mayweather. You know, we all know I love Floyd to death. Has he ever wavered? Has he ever, you know, disappointed, like in terms of like not being training and, you know, he's disappointed people because they didn't get what they wanted when they saw him fight, but he always stayed in shape. He's always in camp. And just recently he is as well. And the thing is that I know his fight got canceled. He was going to fight someone, whatever, you know, Floyd got to make his money, and that's why he's Money Mayweather. One thing I want to bring up, Kev, before we move on about the Bivol fight, the aftermath, Better Biev or Gilberto Ramirez, which one would you prefer as an opponent for Bivol?
I'll take either one. I mean,
exactly.
Be honest with you, at this point, I'd rather see Gilberto Ramirez, just because I think I think that fight is more easier to make,
right?
And I think Gilberto Ramirez has yet to face like really a world class level opponent, and I think he definitely deserves a shot. I think it's the biggest fight for at least the heavyweight guys they have on the zone. So yeah, I would definitely like to. I'd like to see how Ramirez stacks up at the world class level, because I mean he seems to be a world class fighter, but until he fights one of the top guys, he's just kind of a little bit of a question mark to me. But he's got really good, pretty good skills. He's a big guy. He can punch a little bit. He's very busy, so he definitely could give Bivol a lot of issues. He seems like he's a naturally bigger, stronger guy than Bivol, and actually he's going to be fighting tomorrow.
Yeah, he fights tomorrow. Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yep.
It'll be interesting to see, how he does. He's definitely pretty heavily favored tomorrow, so I definitely want to see if he can make a statement and then have people start talking about a potential fight between him and Bivol, because I don't see Canelo rematching Bivol, at least not right away. I wouldn't advise it, but we'll have to wait and see. So that being said, let's move on, John. I think as far as Bivol and Canelo, I think we've said everything that's been said about the fight.
Yeah, it's already been out there. I want to just one more remark about Ramirez. He's on our radar. So let's talk some Charlo, 34-1. By the way, one of the most underrated nicknames in boxing, Iron Man. That's an amazing nickname. Why does no one refer to him as the Iron Man? Again, only one loss on his record. He's taken on a very, very good opponent that's unbeaten. This is a rematch, and it's in I believe it's in San Antonio, right, Texas? And this should be a good one, Kev. I'm looking forward to this. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, the first fight was great, so I definitely. I favor. Well, I mean, this is tough, but I just favor Charlo, because Charlo is he's a better athlete. He's the harder puncher, and I think he can make more adjustments. Castano, I guess it's pretty much what I've been hearing from a lot of people, and I kind of agree with a lot of people's assessments that I've been kind of seeing around, is that Castano can only kind of fight one way. I mean, he comes forward, he's aggressive, he's tough, decent puncher, pretty good defensively for a come forward fighter. He's not all that easy to really get through his guard. But I saw some stuff that Charlo was doing in the last fight, laying on the ropes a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Not being busy enough. But I think the thing with Charlo is a little bit conflicted between being a puncher and a boxer. And because he's had so many spectacular knockouts, I think sometimes he kind of reverts and falls a little bit too in love with his power. Like in the, I believe in the second round of the last fight, he had Castano hurt pretty bad. And then he got into a mode where he wasn't really being busy enough. And I think that really cost him rounds. He's had many fights where he's been, even the fight against Tony Harrison, he lost that first fight.
Yeah.
Rematch. The fight was pretty close until Charlo wound up knocking him out when Charlo won the title. I'm trying to remember who he fought. I think it was Julian Jackson's son, John Jackson.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was getting outboxed in that fight and then knocked that guy out. So his powers bailed him out a lot. Even in that fight.
Yeah, he's strong. He's strong.
Yeah. So he had 2 rounds where he really had Castano rocked pretty bad. So
yeah, he's coming into his own, like as he develops his career. I believe that Charlo is going to be a very great fighter. He's already excellent. And the thing is, you find your own, and the better experience, in my opinion, watching this sport as detailed as we both do, is that when you take on better opposition, you get better. Look what happened to Canelo when he faced Mayweather. It made him so much better. Made him an excellent fighter. So I got to ask, does Kevin care? There's another fight tomorrow that a lot of people are not talking about. Kovalev is back. Does Kevin care?
About Kovalev?
Yeah, he's back tomorrow.
Who's he fighting?
I have no idea.
All right. I don't... Oh yeah, that's a. I think that's a Triller fight.
It's a Triller. The only thing I care about is Snoop Dogg if he's on the mic because he's the best. That's the only thing. Only reason why I'd watch.
Triller's reputation is just kind of went pretty much down the tube. So, the fact that they're having Kovalov, okay,
Yeah. Who is he fighting? Let's pull it up on BoxRec. Hold up. Let me see what's going on here. Dude, the fuck is going on? I gotta use the word. All right, so I saw like a quick promo and on my Instagram. I'm like, what? Is this really happening? You know, nothing against Kovalov, but it's just like I don't know.
I mean, is this fight even worth discussing? Okay, well,
That's why I asked, does Kevin care?
Since you asked me. So,
All right, what do we got?
Sergey Kovalov hasn't fought since 2019 when he got stopped against Saul Alvarez. It's 2022. He's fighting Turvil Pulev. He's the younger brother of Kubak Pulev, and he's 16-0. Don't know anything about this guy at all.
No, I know, and that's why I couldn't remember the name. But now I know Pulev, of course, the heavyweight, yeah. But this is a different guy.
Weight, so I mean, this guy doesn't really have much of a resume. I guess you could say he has some pedigree. His brother's a pretty decent heavyweight.
Oh yeah, decent. Yeah, Pulev's good.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I try not to shit on anyone that does boxing, but did you ever see the movie Major League, the first one? And then all like the construction workers are hanging out and they read the lineup for like the baseball season for at that time the Cleveland Indians. And they're like, who the fuck are these guys? that's what this is.
Yeah, this fight is actually it's a pretty dangerous fight.
Oh, the guy's unbeaten, Pulev. I've never seen him box, but he's unbeaten. That says something.
It's a dangerous fight because Kovalov hasn't fought since 2019.
And the last time he fought, he got knocked out hard.
And the fight before that against Anthony Yarde, he almost got knocked out.
Yeah, that's right, Anthony. I forgot about that one. Yeah,
and kind of Anthony Yarde pretty much got knocked out because of his lack of conditioning and his lack of experience at the world class level. So that being said, you have anything else you want to ask me about?
Nah, I think we unpacked everything great. We got a good weekend up. I just want to say this for our listeners, final thoughts, is that boxing is back. We got some good fights coming up. We got a rematch with Usyk and Joshua coming up. I'm looking forward to that one. We'll see, what Joshua's really made of. I mean,
I mean, that's a good fight. I mean, but that's how long down the road? That's 2 months away from now?
Yeah, 2 months. That's in July, I believe. Okay.
But
I mean, I'm so excited for it. And the reason why is that I always like Joshua. And it's like I never write a fighter, off after a loss or 2 or 3 because, I mean, boxing's hard. But I give him all the respect in the world. He's showing courage to come back to Usyk, try it again, and we'll see what we get. And I think, but I hate to say this, it's a make or break fight for Joshua. If he gets stopped again here, they really got to reconsider what his career path is because, he's been in some really, I give him credit. He's been in tough fights, man. He fought tough guys.
Yeah.
He's really never ducked anyone. A lot of people will say the Tyson Fury thing. I think the Tyson Fury thing didn't happen just because Joshua lost a couple here and there. Yeah. I think if he had the momentum and the winning streak, that fight could have came off, But
I could still see it happening regardless of whether he beats Usyk or not, because Usyk's just not a big name.
No, not at all. Not household.
To the table, but still in England, I mean, if he can get 93,000 people to go see him fight Dylan White, he can get easily that.
That's a great point. That is a very strong point.
So, I mean, Dylan White is, a domestic. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a domestic level fighter, but he's one of the top domestic level fighters from England, but he's not a worldwide, I guess you could say, superstar type of fighter like Joshua is.
Right.
So yeah, so I think regardless, this is like a situation where, like when Manny Pacquiao got knocked out against Juan Manuel Marquez in that last fight.
He ain't gonna get up, Jim.
Yeah, they still did 4 million plus buys for him and Mayweather after that vicious knockout. So I don't see the luster on that fight going away.
That was one of the best calls. Like, I mean, down goes Frazier is the big one, obviously, but he ain't gonna get up, Jim. He ain't gonna get up, Jim. Like when Roy was firing that shit
Roy
off.
saying that or what? Was that Roy Jones?
That was Roy, yeah.
Yeah.
He ain't getting up, Jim. He ain't getting up. Like, you felt it, and you feel his excitement. If you ever watch a fight next to Roy Jones, which I've had the privilege of doing, he is so into the shit, man. Like, he is so dialed in. He loves boxing. Like, even if he's like, okay, so when he was working HBO, they usually have like 2 to 3 fights, right? Roy comes out at the very first fight, watches every single one. Like, that's just who he is, man. He loves his boxing. And we love boxing, Kev. Great show. And it'll be on many platforms.
One quick thing before we go. Since you kind of brought up some upcoming fights. Here's one I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm not going to buy it, though, unfortunately. So I'm going to figure out. I don't know how I'm going to watch it. But
which one is this?
Gervonta Davis versus.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Yeah. That is on the 28th of this month. Pretty interesting fight. They're both undefeated.
Yep.
Romero's 14-0, but he talks a good game. I mean, he's a good talker. I mean, I'll give him credit for that. I think this fight is going to be. I think it's going to do pretty well.
I think so too. And you always got the big buzz when you got guys that are undefeated, and this fight in particular is going to generate that kind of buzz because, especially for diehards like me and you, man. It might even, bring in the casuals or people.
Well, I definitely think it's going to bring casual in there because
exactly.
Davis he's kind of he's pretty popular with, I guess you could say, how the urban community to a certain extent. I've seen him. He had an interview I think a couple years ago on DJ Vlad. Or Vlad TV.
I saw that one. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah,
pretty popular YouTube channel.
Very, very big. Yeah, very big.
So he's kind of this generation's version of Adrian Broner, but with probably more talent and a little.
I was going to say way more talent.
I don't know if I would say way more talent, but he seems like he's got his head a little bit more straight.
That's what I'm saying. He's not going to be okay. Not a waste of talent, like Adrian Bronner had great talent, but I think he wasted his talent.
Yeah.
I think for Bronner, he wasted his talent. He could have been so much, dude. Remember when he was coming up, Bronner, he was so good, like, and he just started feeling himself too much, leaking sex tapes, like no judgment, but like he just got distracted.
I think part of that too was because, he wasn't keeping his weight under control.
Mm-hmm.
Once he kind of got up to like near welterweight, that's when you saw that some of the advantages that he had.
Yeah, you started to see him balloon.
Yeah. But anyway, I know
Kev.
I know you got some stuff to do, John. So, but these are topics we should definitely revisit in the near future. Hopefully, we can start doing some more shows. But I'm really glad we got back on today. And
oh, hell yeah. Great time, man. It'll be on iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you want to hear pods, and also on Kevin's channel, of course. Kevin, plug your channel, please.
Yeah, Platinum Fights YouTube channel. Haven't posted anything all year. so I need to kind of get back on the ball. But
Yeah, I'd say get on that shit.
I have more. I'm probably gonna upload it sometime, and then we're gonna get back on the podcast.
Yes.
Hopefully, we can get some of these other guests we've been wanting to get through that. Excuse me, that we haven't been able to get on the show.
I want to bring on Clarissa Shields. She's someone, Kev, like before we go, she's like one of the most engaging people I've ever met. Like, that's a bold statement, not because she's an athlete and a superstar. Like, she is just a darling. And I know she was traveling. She went out to the fight with, you know, to watch Serrano and Taylor. A nicer person you will never meet. She is just a sweetheart, you know. And I'm looking forward. She's definitely one of the big ones I want to bring on, because when you catch her vibe, dude, you're gonna feel. I'm getting goosebumps.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm definitely looking
she's
forward
wonderful, man. She's
to,
wonderful.
Let's definitely try to hook that up. And
Yeah, I'll reach out to her today, as a matter of fact.
so great, good stuff. Hopefully, we'll see you guys soon. And KO Nation, baby.